organizer of the San Diego. Hello, my name is Brian Padgett. I'm the co-organizer of the San Diego Android Developers Group. I also own a mobile development company called Plan B Development. This demo is of an app that my co-organizer, Bill Wickstead, and I built for an Android Wearable Hackathon last week. What we decided on doing was building a wearable app that would notify you that you were outbid on an eBay auction, and then from the watch you could increase your maximum bid and then submit it, back to eBay. So let me show you show you the app running on a development phone as well as a watch emulator. So this is the phone over here, and then this is the emulator. So this was my first introduction to Android Wearable or Android Wear. So I've discovered there are a couple ways that you can interact between the device and the watch. The first one were notifications, which are very simple, and I'll show you the code in a second. So what happens is you load up the app, and I have some hard-coded eBay bids here, and then you click on one, and you'll notice that I get a notification in my notification shade right here, as well as you'll see a notification pop up on the watch. And so here's my notification saying I've been outbid. And then here's the notification on the watch saying that I've been outbid. And you notice a little eBay icon coming up. And then if we scroll up, it says, oh, you've been outbid. And then if you scroll over, here's an action item that will call back to the phone and launch an activity through a pending intent. So if I click on it, it says, yay, congratulations, and thank you. And that's it. So this was the first step. Was just doing a notification. And then let me show you that code on how we did this. So when you first start up, so number one, you have to use Android Studio. You pretty much have to use Android Studio to build a wearable project. But when you build a wearable project, it creates two modules: a mobile module that's going to live on the phone, and then a wear module that's going to live on the watch. So here in my mobile module, I have an activity called auctions activity. It doesn't really do anything to start. It loads up an adapter full of some hard-coded items. Really, the only thing that changes here is this Google API client. So you create an instance of the client, you add the wearable API, and then you connect to it. Or you set a callback, and then when it gets connected, you add listeners for all the APIs you're going to support. And so in this example, I'm going to support the data API, the messaging API, and the node API. And I'll get to more of those in a second. And then when it starts, so in the adapter, I have it set so when you click on an item is when something will get fired. So right now, this is the adapter, the get view, and then when you click on it, it's just going to send this notification with the auction item that you're bidding on. So if you go to the send notification module, it's pretty basic. It's just the basic, notification builder. The only real difference is this add action. So what we do is build an intent that's going to call my bid activity on the phone. We wrap it in a pending intent, and then you set it. So the add action, you set the pending intent on the wearable, and then the set content intent, you pass in the same pending intent, but that's going to be on the device. So this is to make your notification work on the wearable, this is the only thing you have to do. Everything else is the same. The Wear framework handles the actual communication, sending the notification to the watch and to your phone, and then when you swipe it away on one, it'll swipe it away on the other. That's all handled by the framework. So that was notifications. The next step That's the easy way, is notifications. But Bill and I wanted to do something a little fancier than just a notification. What we wanted to do was actually have a custom activity that pops up where you could actually increase your bid. So I'm going to fire a message and rerun the app. And we'll see what happens when I try to my computer's kind of slow, so it takes a while to execute. So I can show you the code while we're waiting for that to go through. So what happens here is now when you click on a item in the list, I'm going to take this message and call a different method called fire message. What fire message does is it first gets a list. It calls this Node API method called get connected nodes, and then passes in that Google client that's instantiated or we initialized in the on create. And so what this does, it gets all the nodes, all the Bluetooth nodes that are connected, and then we loop through. Once you get the results set back, we loop through and get the ID of the notification that you want to send. So here we get the node, we get the ID, we get the name, we log it. That's all fine and good. We get the auction item from the item array, and then we pretty much build a bundle. But for the wearable, it's called a data map. But it's handled just like a bundle. You put an int, you give it an ID, and give it a value. You put a float. In this case, we're putting the highest bid. And then what you do is using the message API, you use the method called send message, passing in the API client, passing in the node ID. You pass in a unique string, and I'll show you why that's important later. And then you pass in the data as a byte array. And the framework handles passing that over to the Wear app. And what happens on the Wear app is if we open up the Wear project and go to source, Java, I have a service here called Bid Listener that extends this wearable listener service. And then a couple other services, Data API Listener. And what happens is when I send that message from the phone activity, this message, it gets handled on this on message received. And what it does, it looks for that unique path that I sent in here and makes sure it matches so it knows which kind of message is actually being handled. And on that, I create an activity. I tell it, which activity I want to be called, and then I read the data map that I passed in as a byte array. So this gives me a byte array. This is a nice and helpful little function that returns the byte array into a map. I get the ID value and stick it in the bundle, and then start the activity. And so if we go back to my app, we'll see that happen. So let me click on the Moto 360 watch. The second item here. You'll see over here now it said, my current bid is $32, and it asks me to choose my new enter my new maximum bid. And so this is a picker that, if I can get it to scroll, kind of hard to do on emulator. So we'll set it to 35, and then when I hit submit, what's going to happen on the activity, on this bid activity in the wearable app, I have it sending a message back to add the send update bid, and what it does the same thing that the other activity did on the device. It gets all the nodes, finds a node of the device it was talking to, and then sends a message back using this pending intent and the data ID and the new bid amount. So if we go here, hit submit, you're going to see the new activity show up here with my new current bid of $35. And there's my new bid, $35. So that's a second way to send to send data back and forth between a device and a wearable. But Bill and I wanted to take it a little further, and we wanted to actually pass in the image. So for the image, we found a much more complicated way. So we'll create this, fire this message, fire message with image. And if the fire message with image is very similar to the fire message, so we get the nodes, get all the connected nodes, you loop through the nodes, get the node ID, you get the auction item. This is where it differs, is we get the bitmap associated with that auction. And we turn it into an asset. So I have this utility that creates this asset from a bitmap, and it's not anything complicated really. It's to read the byte array, compress it, the bitmap into a byte stream, and then asset.create bytes. That's all it does. And then you create a data map, and you do the same thing. You put your int, you put your float, you put this asset that you just created, and then you have to wrap it inside this put data map request item, and you give it a name, and then so what this put data map request item does is it synchronizes. So the framework takes care of synchronizing these data map, these put data map request items across the devices. So if it changes once, if it changes on the device, it'll change it on the wearable and fire off an event, kind of like a loader. So you create this request, and then you say, put it as a request. And then here, using the data API, notice we're not sending a message anymore. We're just saying put data item into our API client of this request that I just created right here. And then what magically happens on the wearable service that we showed before, instead of on message received being called, on data change gets called. And so this one, it passes in a buffer of data events. So you loop through that. We get the data item out, then we get the data map item out. That gives us our asset. Then we get the data map, which gives us all of our values, the ID, the bid, and then we create. I created a function down here, a little helper function to read through the byte array and produce a bitmap from it. So it just gets a stream, loads the bitmap from the asset, which is here. Lets the input stream, and then gets the asset, disconnects, returns the bitmap, returns the byte array for the bitmap, passes that into a byte array for the bundle, and it launches. So if we look at our app again, and this time I'll choose the TV. You should see it update over here with the picture of the TV. There it goes. So my current bid is $2, and there's the picture of the TV in the background. And I'm going to change it to something if I can get the, there it goes. So $4. And then come back here. That new value gets sent to the phone, and there's my TV with my new bid of $4. So those were the three ways that I noticed how to pass data. So notifications, which are very simple and easy, you just pass in the. You don't even have to pass in an action, only if you wanted to do something. The framework takes care of sending notifications for you. There's the the message, using the message API if you're just going to send in some values to a data map or a bundle. Or then if you want to get more complicated with the images, or if you have objects that you're trying to pass and you want to use some kind of byte array, you can just put in an asset and then wrap that asset in a put the asset in a data map and then wrap that data map inside this put data map request and let the framework synchronize the object between the two devices. And then you just listen for the correct event. So notifications, you don't have to listen because it's always listening. If you're going to send the message, you listen for on message received. If you're synchronizing data, then use the on data changed. And so that's pretty much it. The only other nuances I found were in the resources, the layout files. So when you create a new layout, it creates an instance of this. It automatically creates this instance of a watch view stub, which is smart enough to recognize what kind of device is at runtime, what kind of device is being used, if it's a rectangle or a round wearable, and then it will load the appropriate activity. So you can have one activity that's meant for round and one activity that's meant for square. We can show that here. So there you go. That's pretty much all I have for this. This code is open sourced. It's available on GitHub. You can find it right here. Just bpaged, and it's called Testware app. Feel free to play with it all you want. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. You can find us on Google+ under the San Diego Android Developers Group. You can post a question there. We're also on meetup.com, or you can just post to this YouTube video. Thank you.